Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Real Perspectives. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We are excited. And man, when I tell you we got a hot show tonight, it's scorching hot. I'm telling you. LeTonya and I have been excited about this show because tonight we're talking about sack chasers, protecting your bag and your coin. We're going to be talking about tonight, what do we need to do to protect ourselves when it comes to relationships, dating, marriage? How do we protect ourselves financially? Certainly you guys have heard about the guy in Atlanta. He was arrested in Tennessee that duped this female out of 80 grand. 80 grand. And so LeTonya and I thought about it. There is a legal component as well as an emotional component that we really need to discuss tonight, because I think that we've come down to a place in our society where even in a dating relationship, you need to be protected going in financially, because people are living together. They're putting their monies together. They are starting businesses together. They're buying homes together. And I'm not talking about married people. I mean, people who are just dating. And now they're left some kind of way when the relationship breaks up. So we want to talk about that tonight, and we want to get your input about it, but we want to give you some common sense answers and solutions to protecting yourself. And of course, you guys know that LeTonya is an attorney, and you know she got a lot to say on both sides of this matter.
Uh-oh.
And so we're getting ready to put the pit bull out here to lay the foundation. All right, LeTonya?
Listen, wait, you cannot refer to me in any way as the pit bull, because there is a very well-respected attorney that I know that has trademarked pit bull in a skirt. I'm just letting y'all know.
All right.
Listen, she got people like the Beehive, right? I don't want them coming for me. So I'm letting y'all know. I just put it out there.
All right, I apologize. But we're just gonna say LeTonya is about to drop it like it's hot. That's what we're gonna talk about, because LeTonya, you know the thing about it.
You set some real high expectations for the night.
Oh, please listen. Okay, LeTonya. So here we have it. We have women and men who are making more money than they've ever made, than a lot of African Americans have ever seen individuals make. Women have strong businesses. Brothers got strong businesses, and they're dating and they're getting together. They're living together. They are starting other businesses together. They're buying homes together, buying property together, but they aren't married. And so when the relationship bottoms out, there is a legal problem now. That's a major legal problem. Even with those people who are not in business together, but they live together and they're intermingling their monies together. And so then we got the court shows that show this on a daily basis. So we can't say it's not real or no, that ain't gonna happen to me, because it's very real. So LeTonya, let's talk about that. You know what I mean? So have we come down to, in our society, where even dating people who are solid financially need to do something that's equivalent to a prenup? And what does that look like for single people? You know what I mean? We know about prenups when it comes to the marital issue, but are we there now? Like, are we there based upon what we're seeing? And if so, is there anything legally that we can be, in tune to?
Yeah. So here's really the situation, Mario. Unfortunately, yes, we are, I believe, at a place where we really need to be thinking about that. Now, as far as prenuptial agreements and things of that nature, like, I don't know that it would be called a prenuptial agreement, but you definitely got to you have to think about this with the end in mind, right? So for those of you that are not married, that are in those situations, you have to think about, this really is a business arrangement. Right? Even when you're married, quite frankly, but you had asked specifically about maybe people that are not married. You have to really think about this like a business arrangement, number one. Number two, there are some states that still have something called palimony on the books. And basically, palimony is kind of a throwback from the common law days, where you have people that they come together, right? They don't go through state-sponsored marriage.
Okay.
They come together, and then they are in a place where now they are looking to split up. So they do have assets. They do have one partner that maybe has come to a standard of living based on the other partner's support. And so if you live in a state that recognizes palimony, guess what? Now you are fighting in court over quote unquote assets, and you may be in a situation where you do have to pay that person money for for a certain period of time, just like you would alimony, right? It's not like that. It's not recognized in all states, but definitely in some community property states, you do have that. Now, let me say this before we go any further, right? I ain't your lawyer, okay? Right. Nothing that I say constitutes legal advice. This is education. This is information. So I want to make sure that I just put that out there, because I don't need nobody going home telling their man or their woman that I said that if you leave them, you're going to get some palimony. So let's just put that out there.
Well, let's say this too. Guys, listen, if you know somebody that's in this situation tonight, please invite them on right now. Click your share button with them. Bring them into this so that they can be a part of this discussion. Okay, so we're very concerned about this because there is an emotional component as well as a legal component to this. Because, what I see, LeTonya, a lot of times are people who are in love. They believe they're in love, and I believe it's genuine. And they believe, and we hear this all the time, no, what's mine is yours. How are we going to divvy up bills? Let's intertwine our money because we're so in love. And to be quite honest, in reality, what I say is you really need to rethink that. You never need to be so in love that you lose financial sensibility. And let me say that again, because I want you to get that in your spirit, all in your spirit. You never need, I don't care how good the sex is. I don't care. They can blow your mind, your back out, whatever. But you don't ever need to be so in love that you lose financial sensibility, because there's no guarantee if it's a marriage or a dating relationship, how it's going to end up. So you don't want to get so involved with this person that you become so crazy that you lose sight of your financial stability. You can't do that, And so I think that we've come to a place now when we see all of these stories about people who are being duped. I think, LeTonya, we were talking about a female took a guy for like $143,000. You see?
Yeah.
And so we can't say it's not happening. So what I want to know is, even in the comments, are some of you, dating someone, you are solid, you got a business, but you in love, and you're bringing them in, you're kind of footing the bills and you kind of pushing it a little bit. Like, have you covered yourself?
Well, let me say this, while they are either, participating, some people may not want to put that out there, right? Because somebody might know their man or their woman. But one of the things that I would say about business is that you gotta always protect yourself. Like that's just what you got to do. I mean, whether it's business or what, you have to always think about yourself. You got to always protect yourself. And so like Mario mentioned, with regard to being in love and things like that, that's great, right? That's wonderful. That's fabulous. But you have to think about your business like you do any other thing that you're trying to grow. And so you have to ask yourself, is this the right person to be this involved? Number one. Do they have the skill set to take your business to the next level? Are they enhancing anything for the business? So you really have to think about that, or are they just referring people? Because if if you're getting referrals from them, that's fine. Like, I don't know. Let me say this. When I counsel folks, right? And when people come to me and they're asking about this, I always advise them to think very critically about whether or not they really want to add and bring this person into the business, either in partnership or in any type of significant way, because you run the risk of having your personal situation, right, now be a detriment to your ability to make money. And if this is your livelihood, you're really jeopardizing your livelihood, because think about it, if you can't trust them in your personal relationship, now that's going to bleed over into your business relationship where they may be very trustworthy. So you just got to think about that. I don't know. I think it's a challenge. I've talked to people on the flip side that they were dating somebody and this person was trying to get it together. And so they jumped in, they helped them, they worked, they was grinding, and now the business is up and running. And so he or she is like, okay, now they've called off the relationship. So now by that time, now they're coming to me saying, well, what's my interest? Right? Yeah. I mean, I helped them build this business and you don't have none unless you put something down on paper. So you still got to approach this as if it's a business arrangement, because look, you're building a business. And anybody that is trying to be with you and they're saying to you, well, you're telling me that you love me, so why can't you just do this? Okay, well then why can't you just give me my cut, my 20%, my 30%, 40%, 50%, whatever it is that you're asking for. If you love me, you're gonna make sure that I am going to reap the benefits of all my hard work. Like, yo, I'm putting in some sweat equity too. So I think you have to really be realistic, because I've seen people crushed by this very situation. And now they're coming to me like, well, what's my recourse? And if they didn't have the proper systems in place, ain't no recourse.
Right. Well, let me say this, because I understand the difficulty that a person would have when it comes to having that conversation. You see, it could actually be a difficult thing to have. I get it. But what I think is really important is you really have to be an adult about this, because it is impacting your financial bottom line. So I really believe that you have to decide, how do I have this conversation? It's not one that you can really avoid, because you are talking about putting your name on documents that will have long-lasting terms to borrowing money, extending credit lines, and so on and so forth. And so I think that is real critical to be able to say, I must be able to sit down and have this conversation and you not be offended, either party. There's really no space in there for offense, because this is about business. So what I'm saying, LeTonya, is that be a business person, even in this matter. As much as you love them, really sit down. So let me ask you this. So when you're counseling people and they come to you, are you finding resistance to the conversation? Like, are you finding them having a hard time forging that conversation with they about their business and how they should regulate it? Because I think you do have to regulate. This is about regulating. And you can't be a boss and you won't let Bay know that there are some parameters to this matter. This business was going on before we got together, and I really don't want to bring you in on it. I don't care what you do or whatever. I think sometimes it's even wise not to mix the two. That's me. That's what I feel. I feel is, I don't care what you do. I think in a dating situation, I don't want to mix that, because I don't know where this is going. And I don't want to find out later that I got to deal with all of this. So my thing is, I don't think it's very wise to mix the two. I think if I have a business prior to me getting in this relationship, it needs to remain mine. It needs to remain mine.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, most of the time, at least in my situation, most of the time it's not a situation, Mario, where somebody's trying to take the business or even become a partner. What I see is that they're just coming in as part of the business and they're causing trouble, right? So like now the people that you were working harmoniously with, they don't want to work with you no more because your man is talking too much, or your woman is talking too much, or they're trying to come in talking about something that they don't even know what they're talking about. Or now they see the employees doing something and they feel the need that they need to step up and now they need to regulate like they're the CEO, right? Mm-hmm. So I see it's really a lot of interpersonal problems. That's mainly what I see the majority of the time. Now on the back end, right, it's a situation where, I supported you, I was working while you was pushing this business, or I was doing this. That's then where the problem is. And so you gotta manage expectations. You gotta set expectations, because right. I'm a full-time businesswoman, right? And so for me, it wouldn't be, I wouldn't necessarily be in that situation, because as a lawyer, you can't bring non-lawyers in anyway as partners into like a law firm environment. You can't do that. It's restricted. So you get some protections, I guess as far as that goes. But if my significant other were a lawyer, and they did something that complement what I do, or I do something that complement them, that may be something that they may want to do. Like, hey, well, instead of us doing two separate things, you know, let's consolidate, let's save money, let's do this. I personally would not do that with a person that I ain't married to. Like, that's just not gonna happen. Right. But I'm not saying that other people don't do it or shouldn't do it. I'm just saying that if you make the decision that you are going to do that, then you need to make sure that you take the appropriate steps to protect yourself, like you would with any other partner, right? With any other partner, you got to make sure that you do that.
Well, let me ask you this. So tell us, if a single person came to you in that situation, what does the legal document look like? Like what is the verbiage? Like what would that really need to cover? Let me give you a scenario.
Okay.
Let's say that the female has a real estate business and she's dating a guy now, and they are, you know, together, that's a bae or what have you. And he is not necessarily a realtor, but you know, she's the breadwinner. But they're intermingling whatever funds he does have. They're living together, so on and so forth. There is no marriage. How does the person with the most money who comes to you and say, I need to protect myself, what does that look like and sound like?
It sounds like exactly what you just said. I make most of the money and he doesn't, right? And I just feel like I need to do something with my money. Now, here's the thing. If the bank account, right, that you putting all the money in is just in one person's name, it's their money, period. Under the law, it's their money. If it's a joint account, it's their money just like it's yours. Meaning if both people's names are on it, they can do whatever they want to do with the account. Like I've had people say, well, you know, I mean, I'm not worried about it because they can't close the account. No, but they can take everything but $5. I mean, you right? I mean, think
Absolutely.
about it. You ain't got to hurt nobody by closing the account. But
Absolutely.
If you go from 10 grand to one, that's going to hurt.
That's going to hurt. Absolutely.
So what I'm saying is, I would never tell someone, don't commingle funds. I would never tell someone, look, don't bring your bae into the business. I ain't going to tell you what to do. I'm just going to tell you the potential problems that can come from if you do this. And so you can decide if you're going to do it. But more importantly, in that scenario, that's not really a business type of scenario, which is fine. In a personal scenario, you do have that oftentimes. The other thing too is, guess what? You got this person's name on your bank account. If they owe back taxes, right? Let's just talk about that. If they owe back taxes, they are in the arrears for child support, and they get a judgment against them, anything attached to their social security number is frozen.
Yeah.
So you got to think about that when you start putting people on your account. I mean, that's just real talk.
Well, LeTonya, I get it. You can't say certain things. You're not you because you are an attorney. I ain't. I'm gonna tell you, don't be intermingling your money with nobody you ain't married to. I'm gonna tell you, she can't. I'm gonna straight up tell you, it is not in your best interest. That is not your wife. That is not your husband, and it is not in your best interest to put anybody's name on that account who is not legally connected to you through marriage. Now, that may be old-fashioned, that may seem a little outdated or whatever. But again, if you have money that you need to give away to an attorney, you can call LeTonya and she can help you. But if you want to keep your money, then do not exercise this judgment to say, well, it's my money, it's my life, and I'm gonna take a chance. Let me tell you, let me help you. At 53 years old, I know some stuff, okay? I know for a fact it's going to end badly. I can tell you that straight up. It's going to end badly. It's going to end badly just as sure as my name is Mario Brown. When you do that, you're asking for trouble. See, my thing is this right here. If you think enough to go into business with me and then be my bae, then you think enough of me to get married. That's what I'm saying. You need to get on and get married. Then we don't need to. If you don't think that I am husband material, or I don't think you're wife material, then guess what? You don't need to be on nothing of mine. Period.
So let's talk. But let's talk about that though.
Okay.
Let's let's talk about that though, because you bring up a very interesting point. Because even sometimes when you marry, you still don't need to be on some things.
Well, now you done introduce another thing now. Oh Lord,
Okay,
I'm gonna leave you out there on your own, baby, on that one. Now you done got all over into there. I was talking to the single people.
Well, okay, all right, a different show. So I'll leave it there. I'll leave a ... What is that, an ellipses?
Right.
So I'm gonna leave that. I'm gonna leave that. One of the things though that you mentioned, Mario, earlier was about, you said like a prenup, or is there some type of document or agreement or something that you can do to, shield your assets when you are going into a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily think that you have to do that as long as you just don't do the other stuff.
Okay.
Right? Because they don't have a legal right to your stuff anyway.
Okay, but hold on. Wait. Because see, now I just thought about something you said there, because we got to go back to what you said earlier.
Okay.
What about if they live in a state where there's community property and you come in and you get them accustomed to a lifestyle, or you start taking care of children and stuff like that? In a case like that, do you think or suggest that that is a conversation or a move that needs to be made?
It's always a conversation, right?
Okay.
It's always a conversation. It's always a conversation. It's always a conversation. Like, I'm not saying don't talk about these things. What I'm saying is you may not be in a position where you may not be required to have to get all these documents or do all of these things. Like, let me just be honest. I tell everybody, right? If you smart, just put all your stuff in an irrevocable trust. Then you ain't got to worry about none of this stuff. But that's a different show. Right? That's a different show. You don't have to worry about any of this stuff. You don't have to worry about whether or not creditors can come or the tax man can come get you. Like, you don't have to worry about that, because it's not that. You gotta be smart. That's why, like, I have this hashtag that I put out called "Before You Say I Do." That really shows a lot of these scenarios. And one of the scenarios is, look, does your other half, are they in their arrears in child support? This is men or women.
Absolutely.
Right? You know why? Because guess what? You may be trying to have a destination wedding, but they owe $75,000 and they can't renew their child support. So you can't get married in the, well, I ain't gonna say Dominican Republic. But
don't send them over there. They killing people over there. Don't y'all
Venezuela,
go over to the Dominican Republic. Stay out of there. They killing us. Those people are killed. Don't y'all go.
Listen, they probably saying the same thing. They saying no, come to New York or any of these other places. But seriously though, like, there's so many things that impact your finances that we don't think about, because we don't understand that once we connect ourselves to somebody financially, again, adding a person onto your bank account, you have to provide their social security number, which means that anything connected to that from a judgment standpoint, they can attach those funds.
Yeah.
Right? At least up to 50% for sure. Maybe even all of it.
Yeah.
And that depends on who the creditor is.
Absolutely. And I know that, I know about it because I deal with people's emotional issues. And so I've seen them, LeTonya, just go into this whole thing about, oh, but I love them so much, Mario. You don't understand. We are just in love. And I believe God put us together. You know what? I'm not going to argue that one way or the other. But I do know this. Wisdom is the principal thing. You got to have wisdom. It's just about having wisdom. And
I'm still frowning about the God put you together, but I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. That's what they tell me. They say, oh, I know that this is the Lord's will. And, God told me that this is who I'm supposed to be. Okay, great. We're going to argue that. Fast
forward to that conversation where they got $5 in the bank account. Tell me how that go.
That's one of those things, and it's funny you got the hashtag, because one of the programs that I do in my church is called Before I Say I Do. And believe it or not, this is one of the hardest conversations for people to have. But I'm telling you, real talk, you got to have it, because you don't need to be blindsided. I know too many people that hid debt. Even when you have the conversation, they hid debt. They weren't totally honest about it. And then something came up and everybody was mad, and it was terrible. It was a terrible situation. So what I'm saying is, I think that we must talk about this And you've got to protect yourself because you've worked too hard for your business. You've kept your credit together. Even if you had some problems before, you've worked diligent to get it together. So my thing is that you don't want to get attached to someone who's horrible with money, who disregards what you have established and secretly, holds that information from you and just make you fall totally in love with them. And now you're attached to their child support issues. They have some back, like you said, LeTonya, back taxes. And now you're connecting. So let me tell you what somebody told me one time. We're going to get married. All right. But I'm going to keep my maiden name. I'm just not going to take his name because there are some issues there. You know what I mean? We know that there's some, I'm telling you, this is real talk, real talk, that we're not ever going to take, I'm not going to take his name because I'm getting public assistance or I got this thing that I don't want tied up or nothing. So, or some of them know that the dude is in bad shape financially. So they say, well, you know what, we can rectify that. I will just keep my maiden name. I'll just keep it. I won't tie it up. But the problem is, y'all under the same roof, right? And somehow or another, there's still something that happens that tangles you up in that some kind of way. And people are still mad about it. And I'm saying, well, why in the world did you all not talk about that on the front end? One of the persons that I see on the comment tonight is Dr. Cassandra Bowler. And let me tell you something. Cassandra is the marriage. When I tell you somebody that loves marriage and believe in Black folk being married, listen.
I'm sorry, Cassandra.
Listen, Cassandra, out of all the folk I know, I think, and Nikita's on here too. When I tell you they believe in marriage for real, but let me tell you what I noticed about both of them. That they never omitted the hardest conversations. When I say the hardest conversations, of course, they went to my church. So, I pastored them. So they knew the importance of this information, and doing it.
Sounds biased.
But what I want to encourage everybody to do is, even when you're dating, though, because, sometimes, you meet somebody and you may have like more money and you're like footing all of the bills. You're funding the dating, you're buying the bigger gifts, you're paying car notes and all kind of stuff. So what I'm saying is I think we've come down to a place where everybody has to take pause for a moment and really consider, how is this situation affecting me financially? And if my business is growing, I'm going to have to take a look at how to cover myself financially. I can't afford to get caught up in nothing. I don't want nobody taking my debit card. I don't want anybody snooping in my stuff, getting my information. I don't know who this person is because people can forge documents and credentials. We just had that conversation.
Yeah.
And they can be anybody. And because you are now so in love, but they're in your house too, getting your information. So next thing you know, you got what is it, Lifeline calling you saying something. Lifeline. Telling you got 5 cars. Somebody just bought. You don't want to do it, people. You don't want to do it.
Well, and here's the thing. I mean, real talk. I mean, what we're really talking about is honesty and betrayal, right? That's really what we're saying.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, go in with eyes open. So if like you mentioned, someone saying, well, I'm just not going to take their name. That doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You'll never have to change your name. You're still married to that person because there is a legal record of the marriage if you got married.
Mm-hmm.
Right. What you think that filing is? Right. When you file those papers, your name is still your maiden name.
Y'all listen, people. Listen to it.
You cannot get your stuff changed till you get the marriage certificate.
Listen to her.
That doesn't matter. It doesn't even matter. You ain't got to change that. You don't change your name. But I'm telling you one thing, you are still going to be liable for some things. Anything that you would otherwise be liable for, you're still going to be liable for it, even if you don't change your name. Like that doesn't have anything to do with it.
Right. But let me ask you this, LeTonya, from a legal perspective, if two people are business owners and they're in a dating relationship, and let's say that the businesses complement one another, okay, that you talked about referrals or what have you, as an attorney, is your suggestion to draw up legal documents?
Yes.
All right, that will detail every specific dibbing out of monies, what the person is owed, the terms of the agreement. I mean, you know all the legal terms. Would you suggest that that happens?
Yeah, see, you got to do whatever you would do if you were not dating this person.
Gotcha.
Right now, we know some people, you know, they got cat raggedy businesses that they don't operate properly. So this applies just period, guys. But you have to look at this person business to business. This is a B2B, right, relationship. I have a law business, but guess what? I may need a forensic accountant to check somebody's books to make sure you ain't hiding money from my client. I'm just using that as an example. Not that I do that work, but let's say that my significant other was a forensic accountant who had the skill to do that. I would then contract with him just like I would contract with any forensic accountant, right? It would be the exact same agreement. All of that would be the same. It doesn't matter because it's bad, right? We would just do that because I'm a fiduciary of my client's funds. So in that scenario, you have to think about it. Just like you're a fiduciary in your own business, right? You are a steward over that particular business and the health of that business. So you want to make sure that you are operating from a business perspective. I mean, I've had situations where people that I have been interested in or have been interested in me, or we have been involved, that we have done business together, right? But at the end of the day, I don't have a problem saying, well, you know, I mean, you cute, right? But what's the cut? Like, what, right. You know what I'm saying? What's my piece? Because is it straight fees? Am I getting a percentage? Like, let's talk about this. Let's talk about this business situation.
Right. See, I think that's very important. I think that what I have seen so often is people kind of get caught up in the newness of the relationship. The image of the power couple is another syndrome I see, where people are so interested in producing this image like, yo, we're going to be this power couple. And it causes a lapse in judgment, maybe is what I would call it, because you stop being as astute as you should be in the affairs of your business.
Here's the thing about, well, let me speak to that just real quick.
Okay.
Here's the thing about the power couple is that y'all both got to be going in the same direction.
Yes.
That is a business partnership where you guys are working towards the exact same goal. Your other half, whoever that is, it doesn't matter if it's the man or the woman, y'all got to sit down together and come up with the vision and the strategy. Everybody has to do their part. There's nothing wrong with a power couple, but what you see with the successful power couple is they do just that. They got one vision and they're both doing their parts to make that vision a reality. What it is, you do have people that romanticize this. They got a skill set. They see dude over here, he look good. And it's like, oh, he'll look good on my arm, or I'll look good as his arm candy. And plus I'm smart. So we're going to be a power couple. It don't work like that.
That's right. That's right.
Uneven. You both have to be bringing something to the table, right? That's going to further that vision and that mission. But guess what, power couples, you still want to make sure that you still got your paperwork in order because it is still business, even within a marriage.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. And I think that it's very important to set the guidelines before you meet that person, that you're never going to omit doing the business, covering yourself in business. You have to do that. And I recognize the fact that we know we can easily fall in love with somebody and all of that. But as you said, LeTonya, you use the best word. You can't romanticize that to the point that you lose your mind. You can't lose your business mind, that this person is cute. This person is fine. All of that stuff. But at the end of the day, you're talking about the protection of your business. Now, I want to address this piece because we have to get delivered from images. See, because even if you want to be a power couple and you're looking at the image, it is just that, an image. You have not even considered that both parties, you think Kanye and Kim ain't got their separate lawyers? You think they're sharing a lawyer? No, they are not. You think Will and Jada ain't got separate lawyers? Steph and what's his wife name, LeTonya? Steph Curry's wife, whatever name is.
Alicia.
Yeah, Aisha, whatever name is. They have separate lawyers, I'm sure. What's his name? John Legend and Chris, whatever name is, a little teaching girl. So here's the thing, because everybody recognizes that there's a lot of money on the table. It's a lot of money on the table. You think about the dude at Amazon, Bezos, whatever his name. What's his name, Tanya? You know, I'm bad with names. Jeff
Bezos.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, you think they were splitting an attorney? No. All right. You got to think in terms of, I got to protect myself because it's a lot of money on the table and it's my livelihood. And let me tell you what, that's about loving in a dimension that will not rob you. You don't want to love.
And you know what? I want to clear something up, because I don't want us to get off tonight and people think that it's one versus the other. Because
right.
If you do these things, you are securing a future for your family unit.
Yeah.
Period. When you put all of these things in place and they're done right, you're protecting yourself and the other person. So if you do come together in a marriage, you are protecting the legacy and the integrity of the unit when you do these things. There are so many people that end up, the state decides what happens, right? That's what happened when people get a divorce. When we can't come to an agreement, the state decides, some judge decides what's going to happen, right? When people pass away, right? The judge decides what's going to happen when you don't set things up a certain way where you don't have those issues. This goes beyond, I know tonight we're talking about securing the bag. It goes beyond this small little window of how you going to deal with Bay and your money.
Right.
Right. It really does go beyond that. And it opens up, or it's an introduction to the conversation. We want you to think critically about this, because this is usually what's right in your face. But at the end of the day, we want you to think critically about what is the next step in your life, right? Where do you want things to be for your children, for your wife, for your husband, or that life partner, right? Everybody don't believe in going to the courthouse and getting married, but it's people that's been together 30, 40 years that's never done that.
Right.
But at the end of the day, they want to make sure that things are there and provisions are there for that person that's been with them this whole time, even though they have not decided to go through what people are now calling a state marriage or something. I don't know what that is. Besides, I guess it just means you go get the paper. But the point that I'm trying to make, because I don't know what other kind of marriage it is, but the point that I'm trying to make is that, this is really an introductory conversation to get you to thinking about what is the next phase, right? I'm sure all of you got it all together, right? I'm sure you got your trust set up. I'm sure you got your catch-all wheel, right? I'm sure you got your power of attorneys for your kids if something happened to you. I'm sure you got that. I'm sure you got your living will down, in case something happened where you like suspended between, that life and death situation where you can't do anything. I'm sure you got all of that, right? Right? Everybody got that. So maybe you're not the person who needs to be thinking about the next steps. I know we're talking right now about the small things, to me, small things, because, right, you can just choose not to do some of this stuff and you're fine. You ain't got to call me. It's when you choose to do it and you get burned, then that's when you need to call me. Or if you're thinking about doing it, that's when you need to call me. So I just wanted to make sure that, Mario, that we let them know that this is not just about, fun and relationships and figuring out how to hide money from your man or from your woman. You already know how to do that.
Sure.
I don't have to tell you how to hide money.
Well,
it's about that conversation.
Yeah, and I think that we should tell them also how we got here. Like, how do we arrive at this topic today? Because between the legal and the emotional, we're finding that we're dealing with the same people. Because when these things happen, there is an emotional component that has to be worked through, as well as the legal component. And so as people who are practitioners in different arenas, but they're somehow interconnected, we thought that it was necessary to come and help anybody tonight that needs it, to recognize the fact that maybe if you're about to make this decision, maybe we can kind of introduce you to a conversation that maybe it's hard for you to forge. that you may be blindsided by, because the truth of the matter is we have empirical evidence that this is happening to people on a daily basis. So we would be remiss to love you guys the way we do and not say, okay, you know what? I have a situation like this. This is the person that I'm dealing with. And we're not talking about it because it's very real. And it leaves some people devastated. Because even after they work through the legal pieces, now they are paranoid about trusting anybody else. You know what I mean? Maybe they learned the lesson, sure, but it's almost like there's a trust factor that has been violated. And now you are suspicious, even when a person has good intentions, their heart is pure toward you and your business. It leaves you devastated, and it takes sometimes years for you to recover, not just financially or legally, but emotionally. And so we try to merge this thing together because we're concerned about it, because we're hearing it not on just television, but in both of our practices. And so this is why we're saying maybe it's not you. Like LeTonya said, maybe it's not you, but it may be your sister. It may be your mama. It may be your auntie. It may be your daughter. It may be your son.
It's them.
Okay. Okay. But we do want to say, at least don't be afraid to have that conversation, because you put your time in to do your job, to work your business. You have the blood, sweat, and tears. The brother has the blood, sweat, and tears. And then for somebody to come in, you know, there's a resentment. This is the other thing, Tanya, because sometimes it's difficult, because you're right. You mentioned it very early. Like, if you love me, then you'll let me be a part of this business some kind of way. And sometimes that's a hard pill to swallow when you have to say no. No.
Well, here's the thing. If somebody say to you, if you love me, you will, right? And it's got something to do with something you don't want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Let's think about that. Because now you may be dealing with manipulation.
Yeah.
I know that's another show, but you may be dealing with manipulation. And again, this is really about understanding the next phase of you, right? Understanding the fullness of what you're trying to do, whether it's in your personal life, whether it's in your business life. A lot of people think just the fact of being married alleviates a lot of this stuff. You know what? So let me say this, and in some of the time that we have left, let me just be honest, right? These are things that you need to be looking at before you getting with somebody. And when I say that, I'm talking about if you're going to be with them, either marrying them or you're going to be doing some of the things that we're talking about. Now, if you just dating, kicking it, you ain't co-mingling, you're not doing anything, you may not have to get these things, right? Mm-hmm. But if it's anything that's going to be connected to you, these are the things that you need to get. Y'all need to share credit reports.
Absolutely.
Right? Bottom line, I need to see what your debt life looking like.
Updated credit report.
You get a free one every year, so pull it that day, right? I don't need you. Just do free. What is it? What y'all know what it is. I ain't gonna put nothing out there. Use the one, get it free, right? From all 3 credit bureaus. Mm-hmm. Just in case you're taking notes. Number 2, right? Get a tax transcript, right? If you got questions about his or her job, get a wage and income transcript. Mm-hmm. It's free. Your own. It's free, right? Because what the tax transcript is going to show you, are there any liens and levies coming down the pipe? Guess what? They may not even be assessed yet, right? And so they ain't attached, or maybe. Because guess what? Before you add this person to your bank account, remember what I said earlier, anything attached to their social security number is going to get frozen.
Yeah.
Period. I'm not saying snoop, but at the end of the day, y'all got to think about this. Listen, it helps the partnership. You know why? Because if you know they're about to levy your bank account, you better go down there and get that money.
And let me say this right here, Deshaun. Let me say this. You just used the word that is very popular in our society right now, and that is partnership. We're partners. We're life partners. Well, guess what? What business partner does not know what the other business partner is doing most of the time? And what safeguards do they have in place? So if you're going to use that word, use it all the way in its totality. Be a real partner and know this information. Let me add one that you need to put in there too. If they have children that are under the age of 18, you need to know the child support status. You need to know that, because that bleeds into even criminal type stuff now, because you get into, they could be arrested, lose a business license. They can use their professional license. They can lose their driver's license. You need to know that. You need to, if they got kids, you need to know, okay, tell me.
Even over the age of 18, because sometimes in divorce decrees, it says that they have a financial responsibility to continue the child support throughout college up to a certain age, 21, 22.
Absolutely. You need to know that. Yeah, you need to really know that. And that's just something that, I encourage you to have courage to, ask the direct questions, be very motivated to know and get those answers, and not take a stupid answer like, yeah, everything I got it. That's not an answer.
Well, but here's the thing. You also need to know for child support, is it coming out directly from the job, or is this direct pay? Because what then, if your spouse switches jobs, right? It's not automatic. So there's going to be a lag. It could be a problem.
Absolutely.
Right? It could be a problem with that. Now, in addition to those things, because some of those things may be obvious, it may be mainstream, it may be the things that you hear, all the time, right? That these are the things that you need to do. But I was mentioning a long list of things earlier, and I do want to bring those things back up. You need to make sure that you got a living will in place, right? Because guess what? If you want your sister, let's say you marry, if you want your sister or your grown child versus your spouse to make medical decisions, right? You need to have a living will with their name on it. You need to have a healthcare proxy, right? With their name on it, saying that is them. Otherwise, it defaults to the spouse, right? And guess what? If you ain't got no spouse and you got adult children, right? It goes to the adult children. If you do not have adult children or a spouse, it goes to the parent, and so on and so forth. So what I'm saying is, be in control. Be in control of what happens to you. What's next? What's the next phase? Same thing. You need to have power of attorneys that say, if this happens under these circumstances, this is what I want to happen with my kids. This is who needs to be taking care of them in the interim, and all the things that you have set in place. Because again, this is if you're in a situation where you can't take care of yourself. You're not dead, but you're in a situation where you can't take care of yourself. Right. Well, a lot of people have those, but guess what? There are business owners that do not have those for their business. So there's nobody in place, especially solo practitioners. There's nobody in place to pick up and handle business on your behalf, right? You got to have these things in place so that, guess what? Bills and life still goes on even when you're in limbo. This is very important. These are the things that, I'm passionate about this because I've seen people in bad situations and their kids in bad situations because they did not know to do this. Not that they were irresponsible, right? They did not know to do this. These are the things that you definitely want to make sure that you have in place. Everybody talk about a will, but let me tell you right now, it's a whole bunch. I'm not a CPA, but it's a whole bunch of state taxes connected to that. So you want to make sure there's so many other things that we can talk about that are beyond the breadth of this show. But today was really a conversation starter. Yeah, we put a provocative title out there and we talked about some of those things, but realistically, you got to take care of you, and you got to protect your life. You got to protect your children, your partner, as well. And you also got to protect your legacy, because otherwise somebody else, the state, is going to make that decision. That's just not what you want.
I totally agree. And that's very, very good information. And I think that, when we think about how we see so many things, you think about the woman who the guy took $80,000 from, like, what was her mental state? What could get her in that position that she was so gullible that someone could come in and deceive her? That's why we don't want you to take it for granted that, no, it wouldn't happen to you. It couldn't happen to me. There
are a bunch of scenarios where that could really happen. To be
absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. And I want you, and LeTonya want you. We need you to just consider all of these things now, because we want you to not be afraid to love, but be wise in all of your affairs.
You better listen, you better treat this like business. Somebody in the comments put something that I forgot to mention, and I'm so glad that he put this in here. You better get a background check.
Yeah, we're there, people.
Get a background check and know who you dealing with, because you may be talking to Paul and then he Antoine.
Yeah,
because people ain't gonna necessarily be forthcoming about who they are. If you're connecting yourself with people, you better get a background check. Period.
We're there. We are there, people. We are there.
You better get that background check.
Absolutely. I know it's hard to you know what I mean? And you got to do background checks, not because you think they're cheating. You got to do it on the front end. You need to do that on front. The minute you feel like you catching feelings or all that stuff, you need to be trying to figure out who this person is right away.
First, ask them. Like, to me, I just believe in having a conversation. Like, my thing is always, look, like, is there anything that if you feel like if you tell me, it might be a deal breaker?
But son, you know what though? You are an attorney. You are used to interrogating people. You got to deal with the girl. Let me tell you what you do now. As an attorney, you are used to questioning people to get that information. But now let's say Shaquita over here don't know how to do that because she don't want to lose him. Now I'm gonna give you a real scenario. There are people that are afraid that if they probe too deeply, it's going to be a turnoff and they're going to lose them. So they avoid the conversation. And I know that for a fact. I deal with them on a daily basis. I just didn't want to make them mad. Let me tell you something. If you are afraid to have that conversation in 2019, you ain't ready to date. You ain't ready to date.
Absolutely.
You're not ready to date.
And I'm going to say this, it ain't going to be popular. You are being dishonest if you want that information and you snoop and find it without giving them an opportunity. True. Because guess what? What you're going to see is a clinical record. You ain't going to see no details. You ain't going to see no information. All you're going to see is whatever you find on paper and whatever's out there. See, this is why this is what I'm saying. If this is somebody you want to be with, you care about them, give them the opportunity to tell you. I ain't saying don't snoop after that. Let's just be real. I ain't saying don't check. But what I'm saying is give them an opportunity to tell you, and then you got a decision to make.
Okay, hold on. Because we got 2 minutes and somebody left a comment. Somebody, I think Kathy said.
Okay, because we ain't hitting no comments tonight, y'all. Right. So we might give an extra 5 because we ain't hitting no comments because we were a few minutes.
Yeah, we were a few minutes late too. Here we go. Kathy said, how would you get a medical history without their consent? Well, this is my whole point. Now, here we go again. It's 2019. If you're going to be sexual with anybody now on a serious basis, and you're talking about unprotected sex or protected, as far as I'm concerned, it's time to go to the doctor. See, I'm talking about where we are now. We didn't make this happen this way necessarily, but it is what it is. You've got to take control of your health and your wealth. Get that tonight. You got to take care of that. So you need to be going to the doctor, and you both need to be tested to see who got what. You can't get around that.
And now, certain things you should just get tested for if you're active. I mean,
right.
I mean, you're older now, so you should be getting tested for those things on a regular interval, at least once a year, if not
absolutely. Twice a year. But here's the thing: people are still walking around in 2019 afraid to have this conversation and make that move. That's the concern that I have right now, is the fear that people have about making somebody mad, walking on eggshells over a serious conversation. And I'm saying we can't afford that. We cannot afford that. And we got to have a straight up conversation. You cannot assume people are still having unprotected sex in 2019 with random people. All right. So here you go. Go to the doctor and get the test where you can see the results. You can read them. Hold the paper. Who has a piece of paper? Hold the paper. Hold the paper. You read the paper yourself. Read the paper, because y'all went together. Read all the paper. Read all the paper. You got to read the paper, people. You got to read the paper. You need to know. Listen, I'm sorry if it's uncomfortable, but it's 2019 and you cannot. I'm speaking like your daddy to you tonight. You cannot be out here in these streets playing around. We need documentation, and it needs to be current. How current? Very current.
Listen, it can definitely be real time. here's the bottom line, and I know we're a little bit over, but here's the bottom line. You got to have these conversations, right, about all of these things, right? You got to have these conversations about all of these things, especially if you're talking about going to the next step with somebody. You got to get all of this information. You have to know, because as partners, and I'll use that word again, as partners, you're going to be planning, right? And again, like I mentioned, it goes beyond even the surface stuff that we talked about today. That's why earlier we gave y'all that listing of all the types of things that you need to think about outside of the obvious, just so you know, and you can start today to do your own research and get prepared. So Mario, I'll let you take us out with some.
Well, listen, thank you guys so much. And listen, people, you know, we cut up a little bit, but we are very serious about helping you. And we know we're not old people, so we know what's going on. We're still connected. LeTonya is younger than me, but
I'm very young. I'm very young.
Yeah, all right. And see, I'm middle-aged, you know, but I know what time it is. I stay connected. So we're really trying to make an effort to talk to you about real events that we are talking to people about really on a daily basis. And so we're very connected to what the pulse beat of our society is right now. So whatever we're doing, we're thinking hard. Like in our planning stages, we're thinking hard about where are the people that we meet on a weekly basis? Where are they and how can we help? So listen, thank you guys for joining us tonight. As always, you are so faithful, you're kind to give us this hour on Tuesdays. We'll be back here next Tuesday night at 7:00 p.m. Central Standard Time. This video will be on the Real Perspectives page. You can share it, click on it, share it, leave your comments, you know, whatever you learned tonight, or you got some more questions, we will respond, and we'll be back here again next Tuesday night. Thank you so much, and rest well.
Good night.